So what does it say in Diario AS? Well, it says, I feel free. And this is a direct quote from the forward himself, who's been speaking very candidly about his exit from PSG. He said, I am very happy, freed, relieved and extremely proud. I have a lot of excitement about the idea of going to this huge club. I was made to understand that I would no longer play for PSG after informing them of my desire to leave at the end of the season. I was told right to my face and quite violently, so I was convinced that I wasn't going to play. Luis Enrique and Luis Campos saved me. Without them, I would never have stepped onto the pitch again. We now welcome in our favourite Frenchman, Frank Leboeuf, and Julien Laurent as well. And
I thought he was going to choose a favourite for a moment there.
Oh, no, I'm going to pick between the two of them now. But I am going to start with Jules on this because it's been quite the 48 hours with Kylian Mbappe, but now we do need to focus on the PSG angle. This seems to be a bit of a bitter ending, Jules. These are very strong words. Freed, relieved, talking about I've spoken violently to his face.
Yeah, you're right. And I think it's a bit of a shame that the whole 7-year story between Kylian Mbappe and PSG finishes like this, but this is the way it is. When we talk about timing is very important in football and in life in general. The transfer was announced to Real Madrid obviously on Monday. On Tuesday, as a French captain, he did the pre-match press conference with Didier Deschamps and then faced the questions. He knew exactly what he was going to say. He wanted to put out there that the season had been difficult for him, that he was not unhappy in Paris, but that some people and some things in the end made him unhappy. You're right, those some of the words they used, like violently, like, you know, in my face, he feared that he would not play at all this season. That clearly he hinted that was a threat made by the club, that because he didn't want to extend his contract after this season, then at the start of last season, when he was dropped from the squad, didn't go on pre-season tour, he thought he was never going to play again because that's what he's hinting the club said to him. The club today, the sources that we got, distance themselves a little bit from that, saying, one, they don't want to get into a war of words. Two, they want to move on now. They thanked him for the 7 years that he had, but now it's time to go to the next chapter for the club. But they still felt that it was a little bit ungrateful for him, that after the 7 years that he had, when they made everything for him to make him happy, that he has this reaction once the move to Real Madrid is announced.
Is there money owed to him, Jules?
So this is the other thing. Behind all of this, behind the fact that Kylian, and he, of course, he's free to not be happy by some things. We know the season was difficult, it was tense. Remember, once he had announced the club that he was leaving to go to Real Madrid, Luis Enrique stopped playing him, well, certainly not as much as you would have played Kylian Mbappe on a normal season. And now we know and we've learned that PSG didn't pay his wages in April or in May. We're not sure what's going to happen in June, but it might be the same. They didn't pay a bonus that was owed to him in February. All in all, we're talking 80 million euros. Really, that PSG are saying, listen, we had a gentleman agreement back in August when he reintegrated the team that he would not leave on a free, and this will be how PSG kind of recoup some money for him. He's now disputing that and saying, by the way, you didn't play me at the end of the season, so our gentleman's agreement is going down the bin. I'm not sure. Now it's between lawyers. Lawyers will sort it out. But again, it's another thing to show that the end of this story is not finishing good.
It's the end of Mbappe's story here, Frank, but we saw the end of Messi's story with PSG and the end of Neymar's story as well. Somewhat ugly endings for these big star players. Do you think that would be a cautionary tale for other big name players if they were looking to go to PSG?
Who knows? I mean, you always welcome to a club, and when you leave, you know, you can find some bitterness in the way that is ending. So it's the case for Mbappe. In fact, and I think we'll never know. We don't know the truth, and we never know the truth, and we never know what really been agreed between the two camps, and it's hard and it's sad in a way. It's sad to see how Messi left. It's sad to see how Mbappe left. I think for Neymar it's another story, but yeah, a big club like that, and with the goals that they have in the future, they should take care of that because, as you said, it can cause some damages in the future. But in the present time, I think we don't know what's going to happen. I think Mbappe should turn the page. Take care, the lawyers should take care of that, and Paris Saint-Germain should go ahead as well and make sure that the image is not been grayed by the story. And again, I find it at the end of the day, after 7 years, playing for Paris Saint-Germain, the exit pretty poor and pretty sad.
To your question, Kay, I think it's a precautionary tale to Al Khalifi, more so than any potential stars going to PSG. The club always has to be first. The club always has to be bigger than the player. And yes, I know there are these huge stars involved in the game today, and that's just kind of the way the game has gone. But overall, the club still has to come first. I always felt that PSG, and this is not just a Mbappe or Messi or Neymar story, but they have made the player, the big name player of the moment, almost paramount to the short-term interests of the football club. And whenever that happens, there's going to be this kind of sad ending to the saga. That's what you're seeing now. And listen, I get it. Kylian Mbappe, important to French football. And as I mentioned earlier in the week, it took on a feeling that he was bigger than French football itself. Never mind just PSG. Where else does the Prime Minister of a country in Macron come out and make the kind of appeals to a single player that you saw? And then, unless you are the world's biggest club, guaranteed to be for the foreseeable future, and that leaving that club will be seen as a step down, you are going to have this kind of a scenario. I don't think Real Madrid are prone to any kind of falling out in this manner, and they, for all argument's sake, right now are the biggest club on the planet. There's a tale to be told in much the way that Ronaldo, when he decided his time was up at Real Madrid, how easily they moved on. Because the club was bigger, as big a player as Ronaldo was and continues to be, the club overall will always take precedent.
But just going to that point that you just brought up, Shaka, Jules, it wasn't just PSG really, was it? It was the fact that it was France as a country, as a nation. We're talking about prime ministers here, asking Mbappe to stick around and stay at PSG. How was that seen from French football fans? Because it does feel like a lot of pressure for a young player.
Yeah, I don't think the pressure was a problem here. It's just he's the best player in the world, and he's a player that you see once every 50 years, maybe. Or, I mean, in our case, and Frank has played with Zidane, and we had Platini before, so maybe once every 25 years, let's put it that way. So you try everything you can to keep it in Ligue 1, to keep him in Ligue 1. You try everything you can to make him happy, of course, because it is important. Right now, for next season, Ligue 1 have no broadcasting deal domestically in France. Right now, nobody's going to show the games. That starts at the beginning of August. Nobody. The deal is not done yet. Mostly because Kylian is leaving. And obviously, if you have an offer with Ligue 1 with Kylian and one without Kylian, the one without Kylian is far more difficult to sell than the one with Kylian. So it goes beyond if Macron is a football fan or not, if Macron wants this or not. It's just for the good of French football. It would have been great had he stayed a little bit younger. But again, he stayed 8 years in Ligue 1. For somebody that good, it's too long. This is not what we do in France. We are feeder league. We are selling league. Frank left, Zidane left, Thierry left. All those great players leave. And Kylian was always going to leave at some point. So Macron can try everything he wants. There's a point where Mbappe and his family decided that it was the right time to go. And it is the time to go. And they have gone. And there's no pressure. I don't think the bitterness came because PSG felt that he left as a free agent and maybe that shouldn't have happened. But that's it, really. For the rest, we said thank you for the 8 years that you gave us in Ligue 1. And now we will follow you at Real Madrid in La Liga and then maybe somewhere else after that. And maybe at the end, he will come back when he's 33, 34 and just finish the cycle back in Ligue 1.
And now it is the end of the season, Frank. We've been doing grading on teams. But as for Kylian Mbappe, specifically at PSG, how would you grade his time there?
Well, he did the job. For me, he did the job. And he wasn't on his own. I mean, if Paris Saint-Germain didn't get the Champions League, it's not only because of him. He has a part of responsibility as a player to do his best, and I think he did, but you cannot ensure that you're going to win the Champions League. Every year there is only one club at the end of the day we can do so, and most of the time it's Real Madrid. So it's hard to compete and to ensure again what you're going to do. I think we saw the list of what he won and how many goals he scored during his time at Paris Saint-Germain. I mean, 256 goals in 308 games. That's huge. And he won the title 6 times out of 7. And he won once with Monaco. So he's been at the top of the top in France. And we have to be grateful that he brought the Ligue 1 that high. Like players like Ibrahimovic has done when he came and puts a little bit of limelight on the Ligue 1. But as Jules said, we just have to thank him to have stayed there because he has done the job. He put Paris Saint-Germain, and because of the money of the Qatari there at the top that they could reach. But there is how do you say, a glass of cell, or a cell glass, I don't know how you say that, where you cannot go further up. That's the Ligue 1. We don't have enough money to bring players to higher the level. And Mbappe and Neymar and Messi, they reached that top level, and I think it's hard to go upper than that. So thank to him. Now good luck to him, and as Jules says, if he's happy to come back, he's going to be welcome back for sure.
That would be a glass ceiling, Frank, but don't worry, I don't know how to say that in French either. Meanwhile, the sky is the limit for the French national team, because when it comes to the Euro 2024 odds, well, France are right up there when it comes to favourites to win it. And as we're looking now, we're seeing England just ahead of them and Germany just behind them as well.